you a wonderful good day, morning, or evening, or night, depending on the time of day that you're watching this video slash stream. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in again. So, in today's video slash stream, let me just adjust my camera a little bit. In today's video slash stream, we are going to build the set number 60253, which is this little um, ice cream truck that the city lineup had a couple of years ago. It is from the year 2020. Sorry. Alright. Let's switch our camera to get into building mode. I already opened the package and let's dump out the everything that it includes. So we emptied it, and we already see we have two instruction manuals, as I already have opened up here too. I'm using the PDF version instead of the printed booklets because I appreciate the viewing on screen a little bit more, and it's also a little easier because of desk space. Alright. So we are getting a couple of different parts. Just to show you, this is the first sheet of it. And I will just scroll right into the first step. We have two different building steps in today's video. And as always, let's start with building, and in the end I will discuss and review the set a little bit and see if I can recommend it or not. Alright, so let's just get rid of the packaging. I'm going to switch this a little bit further over here. Alright, and I think now we can get going. So, what I very much appreciate about it is that they have a printed little dog minifigure included in the set, which I think looks actually pretty cute. I love dogs, so maybe I am a little bit already on the side of thinking that it's cute anyway, but I appreciate that they included it, and especially that they now started printing these figurines too. We had a couple of sets where we actually did not receive any printed figurines from any sort of animal lineup. Alright, we also have a couple of different minifigures in this set, which is always also a great thing, especially if they have parts that are not used as often or regularly, as is the case with the first one, which is this little skater minifigurine. It only has a one-sided print on the head, but it has a different sort of helmet than we are usually knowing. So in the city lineup, they had it a couple of times. I think there was a skate park, for example, where this BMX helmet was included also. But nonetheless, it's always a nice thing to see these sort of different accessories included. It brings up the price of the part on Bricklink, especially. So usually you can sell these figurines for at least €1 to €1.50 and make some money back in that if you want, and you don't need the minifigures. We also get a second accessory for this minifigure, which is a hairpiece and a little skateboard in the color purple, which I appreciate a lot. So in the finished state, it looks like this. I hope you can see it. All right. And we are also getting the salesperson for the ice cream truck that we are building right afterwards, which also has a one-sided print for her head and a blonde hairpiece. Let's see if you can see it maybe even better on this camera. This is a little bit closer. All right. So now that we have all the figurines built, we can already get into building the truck itself, which, as I mentioned, consists of these two steps. And because this actually is a set from a lineup for smaller children, it also includes a lot more steps in the instruction manual. So that's also why we have two of these delivered with the set instead of just a regular one. It has the 5+ age tag. Just if you're wondering why this is a little bit of a different instruction booklet than, for example, what we use for the Grogu build. All right. So in the beginning, we are just putting on the back axles. Usually these builds always start with the back and continue onwards to the front. Or at least what I'm used to from these sort of building experience. I also want to mention, I think the color that they use for these parts and for basically the whole lining on the lower part, I think it's a rather nice colored blue, and it fits the theme quite well in my opinion. It's I've seen it live already on the in the cityscape of a friend, and I just really appreciated the look that it gave off. If you're wondering why I'm building a little bit of a less intricate set today. I appreciate is the red trans clear brick used here, which will be probably the brake light in the back. Always a nice piece if you're actually planning to part this set out instead of building it, for example, depending on the price range that it drops to at the end of its lifetime. It could actually be worth it for that alone. It always depends. The city lineup sometimes gets reduced heavily because it's just getting put into basically every store that sells any sort of Lego product. Usually has these sort of sets too, because they just are very easy to sell to the broader audience. And that is also why these sets usually can be found with a heavy discount to them, which can be one reason to purchase if you're actually planning to, for example, resell, which is not usually something I think is very much useful for this sort of cheap city sets, because they just get overproduced too much. The price will just not drop fast enough. And I'm just realizing I need a sticker sheet. Oh, Jesus. That's a lot of stickers, actually. I have not realized it. Look at that. It's like the size of my face. Wonderful. But where was I going? So, because the amount of sets being released in this sort of realm are rather high, that would not really make sense. But for example, for parting it out and selling these bricks individually, it could actually be worth it if you find it for cheap enough, which usually means between 50 and 60% rebate, best case scenario. Below there, I'm not exactly sure how worth it is. especially if you're planning to get multiple ones, like which is sometimes a thing that I've seen with resellers doing if these sets drop for low enough of a price, because for example the regular pricing at stores like in the US, for example Target or Walmart, would be sometimes even cheaper than what you can get for a deal on Bricklink from private sellers. um, so if you are still able to basically be the cheapest offerer, you can theoretically make a little bit of money with that. I personally am not doing that, so I have no uh, on hand, or let me say first hand experience on that subject. I just want to mention it is a possibility for these. I personally am just really liking Lego a lot, and I'm collecting this mostly for my own hobby purposes. So we have two of these tiled off trans clear pieces. I'm not exactly sure how they are called. They have a side piece to them, which I'm not used to, but they look really cool, and I appreciate them being included here. And also a plate on the back side of it. All right. We are continuing with just giving it a little bit of rigidity in the back. Also here, where we do not see what's happening on the inside, there is usage of some yellow bricks, which we have probably been used to at this point, I would say. But still, I want to mention that that's a usual practice with these sets, but I understand it more in the 5 plus lineup, for example, where we actually really want to make sure that the builder understands where to place the parts. Where I do not understand it at all is with 18 plus sets, where we are getting a multitude of colored pieces that nobody actually would need. For example, in the Super Star Destroyer, no, the regular Star Destroyer, the Devastator, the UCS set, one of the ones I like to reference to a lot, because it's in some ways it's a great set, but in many ways it's also one that shows you exactly the problems which Lego as a brand has for a couple of years by now. And we're putting on only the best sticker at this point, probably in a very crooked way, just to make sure that I don't know. I think it turned out okay. It didn't turn out good, but at this point, if you have seen any of these streams, you should be used to me not putting on stickers properly. I'm terrible at that. All right, and we have the second part. Also, not really um, perfectly straight, but it's okay. As we can also see, um, the size of this vehicle will be around 6 bricks wide, or like 6 studs wide. I'm terribly sorry. Um, which is the regular city lineup's way of doing cars, which sometimes can look a little bit how should I say wrong in the width of it. There were, for example, also the money transporter in the cargo train lineup from 2020, which also had this sort of layout to it, which can sometimes look a little bit too narrow to call it that. I think would be fitting. Whereas with the Speed Champion series, for example, which we have built the last two streams, it is an 8 stud width, which is, let me demonstrate you, just like with two regular plates, would be this size, which in my opinion looks a little bit more proper for the length of these vehicles usually. The only problem is the road plates themselves, which Lego also has started selling with basically the switch in, I think, 2020 or 2021. They are only six plates wide properly, or like eight. They are eight studs wide for each side, so it's a 16 by 16 studs plate. The problem with it is just you need a little bit less of the width of these eight studs to actually make it look properly on the road. Otherwise, it just looks like it's cramped together, which also is the biggest trouble with having these different widths, where these cars look weird in terms of the width when you look at it as the car, but the other ones, like the regular Speed Champion series cars, which look like great cars, don't look good on the road place if you do not modify them with another two studs on the side, just for tiling it off in the same color. Otherwise, it is never fitting really well. Sadly, we are making a little bit of progress on the front, building up the side skirts basically, and putting on a little bit of the structural stuff in the middle, where we have used some green parts for differentiating it. On the front, there's two stud connectors which will allow us to put a little bit of decoration to it, or actually this actually could be the backside. Honestly, yeah, this will be the backside with the brake light too. So it will probably be also decorations, but just the different side. Terribly sorry for misnaming it. We also have the indicator lights going up at these, as just mentioned before. A little bit of decoration, which I actually very much appreciate. Let me show you. It's pretty cute, I think. I appreciate that they include these sort of details at least. If I'm not mistaken, this is the same color used, for example, in the free 3-in-1 Creator Series Ferris wheel that came out, I think, last year too. I actually got three of them and built a much larger version of the Ferris wheel. So maybe you can tell I love that color. I appreciate this light blue. It's just a very cute color. I think pastel colors are awesome. All right, up here there's a lot of jump plates being put on now. And a little bit more of the design colors up front. And even more jumper plates, which will probably be used for decorating them with little ice cream cones, I would say. It's also creating this little sort of staircase effect where everyone is laid. Every plate is, or every row of plates is layered underneath each other. Yeah, and we can see the next step just consists of exactly that. I actually scrolled through it a little bit at first, but to be honest, I'm always confusing it up a little bit while building through it. So I very much liking these sort of little design elements. I think it's cute when they detail it in the inside, even though you cannot really see that much of it. We are putting on another sticker, number 9, on the back of the trans clear piece. I appreciate the fact that they did not do it in the same way they, for example, did with the logos for the cars that we built in the last couple of streams, where they had the full line of a trans clear plate being basically put on it just as a sticker. Whereas here we just have one single line of sticker row that we can put on. I mean, it's a little bit easier to put on, and it looks a lot better in my opinion too. So that's something very nice to see. And we have placed it in the backside as a little viewing window. Now we're gonna put up one of the sides of it, I think, which will be a separate step in the build. So let me just put it to the side. And we are continuing here with the window. First, there's another sticker being put up to the side here. I usually really do not like stickers, but I think in this case it is fitting quite okay, just because of the theme of it. And it's done very terribly in this case for me. I'm terrible. I'm very sorry for it. Like I mentioned, it's sometimes hard to put this on properly, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, I think it fits this topic a little bit better, just because on real ice cream charts, I think I've seen a lot of sticker elements too, because it's rather easy to put it on that way, whereas actually put, I don't know, spray painting it or something like that, it would not make any sense, I think. That's the same as if you see a taxi on the street. It's usually also just wrapped in a I don't know if it's called vinyl wrap in English, but yeah, it's the same sort of system. Protects the layer of paint that is actually underneath. Alright. So we have this hinge piece to basically open it as a door, I guess. And we're putting on some tiles up top in the color yellow, which I appreciate a lot. I think that's really fitting for this. In overall, I think the color scheme is very nice to look at. I love that. Okay, and it just slides in like this, with a little bit of an overlay on this side with the sticker, which is sad to see, but what can you do? It happens. We are putting on a little bit more of a build-up in the inside, where we are basically simulating the cash registry, I think is what this is supposed to be. And there we are putting on a little 100 Lego money bill and this printed cash register element to it. I like that. I think I've also seen this as a pin code element, but it just fits for the registry design that we are building at the moment. I think that's rather cute. All right. Then we put the other side of the plating on, and probably a little bit more decoration to the front. On top there is a light bluish gray plate that's being placed. And this concludes the first step of this building experience. Let me just show you what we have so far. We have this side already finished, basically being able to slide open. We have a little selection of different ice cream cones and a little cash registry in the front, as well as the number plate and indicator lines, as well as indicator and brake lights. Terribly sorry for the mispronunciation. We have them in the back, together with the number plate being a sticker. All of these, what you can see at the moment, are just stickers. The only printed piece that I've come across in here so far are the little money bill, which is a very oftenly used part in my opinion. So it's nothing special, as well as this little pin code dial, which I've also seen a lot in the city lineups especially. Alright, let's continue on with the second step of this bit. I'm gonna try to be a little delicate with opening the bag, so not to annoy you too much with the different sounds. Alright, and apparently we've lost one of the little tires. Let me just see if I can find where I lost them. Alright. Let's continue on. So we are putting on more stickers to basically build up the other side of the walls. Little stay cool sticker. I hope you can see that. Let's place it in the back, and let's just taking a little bit more shape with that. Now we are implementing this little sliding rail piece. I'm not exactly sure how they call it, but I would call it a rail with a plate connection on one side. It's 8 studs long, and it's being used as basically this little side row that you know from this sort of vehicles for putting up the beverages and the ice cream that you consume from it while it's being sold to you, I guess. We have a trans clear window, which makes it 4 at this point. All of these are these trans clear 4 by 4 parts, I would just call them, yes. Which are also quite nice to see. There's also a fifth one here, which we will also get to put into the build later on. These can also be sold quite well on Bricklink from what I know. Alright, let's put on the second sticker sheet for the other side, where you can see the ice cream selection that they offer. It's just 2 of these 2x2 or like 2x1 sideways bricks, which are 2 bricks high in height, and then we just put a 2x4 tile on it. And now let's place the menu sticker. Alright, the second row of stickers is done, and we can just put it onto our build on the other side, on the left side here. Alright, so now that we finished this row 2, we can put on a little bit of rigidity on top. making it a little bit more structurally intended. Also, another plate up front here, and to make it easier to reach into it, there is a wing piece on the back side, which makes it easier to first of all reach into it, but also gives it rigidity from the side. I like this idea quite a bit. I think that's a well done build in this sense. And what we also are including is the fifth window, which is being placed up here on this little slider row that I can show you here. And it's able to be moved between sides. So you can close it up. Let's see how they are implementing this up top. As you can see, we have another rail in the correct dimension, and we just put it up top. And now we have a little mechanism for opening and closing this little window on the side. I love this feature. I think that's actually really cute and cool that they implemented it. It's being followed by this, let me just count it, 4, 6, 12 by 6 plate up top, which makes everything a lot more rigid now. So let's just place this properly. And then, as you can see, the whole box is basically done. At this point, the only problem I see with it is, because it's very much rigid up top, reaching into it will not be that easy anymore. Actually, but yeah, I mean, you could still take it off. It would just basically break it apart probably at some point. So from there on, placing minifigures in this will only be possible from this side, but actually that's not that terrible. It's a little bit of a squeeze, but not too much, I think. Right. Now let's continue onwards with the design on top, which in my opinion is the cutest part about all of it. It's this giant ice cream cone that is smiling at us, and just really it makes you want to have an ice cream cone, in my opinion. And due to it being summer, what better time than now to build something ice cream related, I thought. Alright, so we are putting some more tiles on top. These rounded tiles to basically give it a little bit more of this flowy look to the top. And then we have 2 more tiles in red, which are getting some stickers on them. The Mr. Chill ice cream. Let's see if I can show it better in this one. Alright, we have to do this second part before we can continue on. Alright, the second one is done too. Now let's put these up. I suppose they are going exactly to the sides up here. As you can see, it will look like this. And it's supposed to be on both sides, so let's just put that up like that. And now we are putting up a G-slope into the middle of it, the middle of the rooftop, and probably the whole hatchet to put the ice cream cone on top, the little decorative one. Or rather, the big decorative one, I would say. Alright. So we are at this so far. Putting up more rigidity to the front. I guess we are putting up the front first before we put in the decorative piece. It definitely makes sense. It's just a little bit easier this way probably. And gives a lot of rigidity with these plates being put up here. And the indicator lights up front. There's a little bit of red and green placed in here. The red I understand, the green is a little bit on the side of yes, let's just use up what we had in the in the factory lying around at that point. But what can you do? The doors are openable, and these are these little door hinges that are pretty known for these sort of sets, I think. If you've built a few, you will definitely come across them. You will have come across them. Terribly sorry for my grammar. And then in the middle of it, we are placing the steering wheel. So this is one of the problems with it only being 6 studs wide. We only can put in the steering wheel into the middle. You cannot just put in 2 seats next to each other, which is definitely possible if you use the Speed Champions chassis for this. It would probably even be possible to rebuild this to 8 stars wide just width just to basically make it look a little bit better. The speedometer is held in this rather cool printed design, but I think I've also seen this sort of print in the train lineup somewhere already, but I'm not completely sure. This could have been actually a print in the train lineup. I think it looks pretty good in it. When you place it there, it looks like this. I think it's rather okay. And we are also putting in the hinge pieces where the side mirrors will be placed later on. First though, there's a little bit more of plating to do up front too, to give it a little bit of a rounded down look with more angles. As you can see, the front is taking shape a little bit. And now we can place the windscreen. It's just snapping over here. And it gives all of it a rather cute look, I think. It's very short-nosed, I guess. Alright, so now we are putting on the mirror pieces, which are just little 1x1 cheese slopes being put onto these hinge pieces right here, which only have one stud of connection to them. Alright, so as you can see, This is how it is looking at the moment. Now let's continue on with the rooftop side of the driver or of the cabin. There's also a big 2x4 size sticker which is going on a sloped brick. This is how it looks. It is also the Mr. Chill ice cream logo just being put up there. And then we are creating this little overhang look up front. You just place it properly, which is getting held in place by these little tooth parts that are, for example, used with the dragons that they put out in the lineup for the big Harry Potter castle. The little horntail dragon, for example, had exactly these pieces, these little. Let me just show you again a little bit in more detail. These pieces up here and the black pieces here. And on these, the inside of this part, which is a little bit hollowed out, is just resting. The whole thing is rather structurally safe, I think. And it also should be, because for the age group of 5+, it would not make any sense to include a very wobbly sort of building structure. The part I appreciate the most in all of it is these little rather large 1x4 brick, which is 3 bricks height in height, and where the logo will be placed for the actual Mr. Freeze ice cream cone. Or no, Mr. Chill is what the name is. I'm terribly sorry. Let's just place both of them first. All right. So this is how we look at the moment. It's this double sticker that you're putting up here, and up top the chocolate is simulated with this sloped 1x4 piece. I think it looks really cute actually. Alright, the bottom side, or the waffle, I guess, as we can call it. It consists of these little sand pieces, 2x2, 1x1, also plate, and then this little connector piece here to hinge it into the top side of the car. Let me just show it here. This is where it will probably be hinged into. Alright, and there is the other side where we put on the connector piece for the actual blue part that we just put together, as well as a 2x2 tie. So let's just put everything together. This is how it looks like. I think it's pretty cute. On the back it's also okay. And then we just, as mentioned, we have this connector here, and in the middle we just hook it into it, and we are getting this effect because it's sitting on this little cheese slope that we put in first, as you can see. Alright, now let's put on the wheels. I like the wheels in terms of design. I like this 6-spoke design, or like 12-spoke miniature design that they have. And we are putting them on each of the axles that we have placed in the beginning of the build. Alright, already rolling. Now the only thing we need to complete is the front bumper, which is consisting of a green plate being then we have some of these 1x6 plates being put on there with the design of the whole car, and the second to last sticker, which is saying only the best, which will sit up front. It would be hilarious if this would be completely crooked, which basically is a little, it's overhanging on one side a bit. Only the best guys though. And we have two indicator lights being put next to it, or next to this 2x4 tile. And then on the bottom side, there's more of a build-up with a couple of G-slopes on each of the sides, as well as a black plate, not a tile. The tiling gets done with the blue ones again up top here. And it's supposed to have the little number plate on there too. So that has to be placed in the rather in the middle. I hope I do not screw it up completely. Well, I've done that better before. So it's okay, right? Let me show you in the other camera. Alright. And then there's the last row that we have to put together, which consists of the regular lights being two trans clear G-slopes in the size 1x1. Rather a cool part. Pretty usable in many instances. And other than that, we just have to place it in the back of the tile that we put the sticker on before. Alright. Let's just make sure everything is straightened out. And we can put the front bumper onto our build, which will complete our build basically. The only thing left to do is to place these two little ice creams that they are giving you in the set as well. Let me show you. So it's looking like that from this side, and then it has a stick to grab onto it if you want to display it with your minifigures, or you can, as is suggested on the build itself. Let me just open it really quickly. You can also put it into the freezer, which is supposed to be these trans clear bricks I showed you in the beginning of the build. It's looking pretty okay with that too, I think. Yeah. It's a cute one, I think. Alright. So this already concludes this rather short build. So let's continue on to giving you a couple of thoughts I have from building this, and also my suggestions for it. So in my opinion, it's a pretty cute build. I think it's just looking really sweet in like a city layout. So if you already have a couple of city sets and you just like to display them, I think this one fits in basically a lot of different scenarios, because it's a car which is always lovely to see in a city layout, and also the ice cream theme is just a wonderful little mix up, just especially if you are rebuilding it a little in the summer. It's always fitting. Like you can, for example, you could place it in a park, or also in the next to the school set that they brought out last year, I think. Which, by the way, is not a recommendable set at all. It's terrible, just mentioning it very shortly. And especially also, like, if you have a city layout which is a little bit more intricate and maybe even uses the modular buildings, I think then especially this fits rather well. You just need to basically do a little bit of your own creation for where you can display it. I think it has a lot of potential though. I very much appreciate the little ice cream cone on the top the most. I already mentioned that, I know, but it's just I think that's the most awesome part about it. Besides that, well, I understand there are not really many prints in it, but at the same time, I kind of wish there were at least like these menu um, tiles being printed pieces. But as I mentioned, I understand it for the age group a little bit more as well. So I'm not going to rant about any sticker usage in this case. And also, as I mentioned, because it's usually a sticker on a real card too, it is more acceptable, I guess. And you can just leave it off. If you leave it off, it's just a blue truck though. So it's looking a little bit weird at that point, I think. But I mean, do what you like to do, you know? I appreciate the sliding window a lot, as I mentioned too. So it gives it a little bit more of a play feature to it, and also it can the top side can be taken off in the front, so you can actually place the little minifigurine in there too. So let's just see if it actually fits properly, because sometimes they don't manage to fit the hairpiece properly. In this case, though, even with the big blonde hair part, it fits rather well, I think. So you can really put this into your cityscape quite well, I guess. Also, the addition of the skateboarding dude as well as the little dog with the printed top, which I'm not gonna guess what kind of dog this is supposed to be. I'm terrible at that, but I can tell you it's looking pretty cute, in my opinion. I'm very much appreciating that they included these two in the set, because it just gives it a little bit more of a display feature too. And always, as I mentioned, you can sell these off on Bricklink rather well. Especially pieces like these accessories go for not even that little. All right. Other than that, we got a bunch of one by one pieces extra, which is kind of cool because it's also including three of these little ice cream tops, which are not that easy to come by, especially in different colors. It's very much awesome, I think. I love the pink especially. I also this time looked up the actual price in America from lego.com/English US to actually be able to tell you guys how much the actual dollar price is. By the way, it is the same as it is in euros. 19.99. It consists of 200 pieces, which in and of itself is not a good value. To be completely honest with you guys, I think for full retail price, I would not suggest this set at all. Um, but as I mentioned, it's a city set, so they usually get rather large discounts. And this is also the reason that I have built it. For example, I've got it in a sale for, I think it was around 12 euros, which is quite okay. I would maybe even wait, because this could be seen around 8 euros even or less if they just want to really get rid of it. It depends how favorited this set is in the area that you're around. Um, I've already seen it sit in a couple of places for even less than what I've paid. So I don't think it would be unrealistic to say that the price range of around $10 would be the sweet spot at least. But I think for that you get a rather good set, in my opinion. So it's not really many small pieces, it's rather big pieces, especially like plates like this. Oh no, not even plates, that's a brick. That's a 1x4 brick that's just even more of a height, has more of a height to it. Or also like the 5 trans clear window parts are also quite usable, first of all for buildings, or also While you can just also resell them. This is always a good point to make with these sort of parts. Like big parts as like the white plates, also the white 12 by 6 plate up top also always goes for a couple of bucks as well. Because well, big plates are always something that are searched for. As well as the tire pieces or the fender pieces, which all have a little bit of value to them. Other than that, I can also mention the longer plates up on the bottom side. There's two of these, one here and one in the middle of it to give it more rigidity, which also is, as well as the rail pieces on the side. These are all honorable mentions for being sold off in the in like selling scenarios, like for example Bricklink, as mentioned earlier. I think the decoration on this set is very cute. Just to summarize it a little bit more in terms of the looks of it, it's actually a cool combination of colors, in my opinion, which I also mentioned before already. I love the yellow and the light pastel blue in combination with the white and the red. It gives a certain feeling to it. I just love it. Maybe it's just reminding me of ice cream truck that I knew in like my childhood time, but it's just kind of cute in and of itself too, I think. Um, Other than that, I think I could recommend it as long as you wait for a good sale. Other than, if not, please do not purchase stuff like this for retail price. I don't think you get any sort of value out of your money if you do that. If you are very inclined to do so, I would never tell anybody what to do. But in my opinion, it's not a good usage of money that you spend on your hobby. Let's word it in that sort of way. You can just get better sets for 20 euros. For example, all the Speed Champion series are also 20 euros, and I think these are actually offering a little bit more for your building experience. And also, these are also getting heavily reduced usually. So, in all, I think in comparison to other sets from the city lineup, especially, I think this is one of the better sets from the last couple of years, and it's also for a reduced price. It's very much a recommendable set. I hope you enjoyed this build just as much as I did. I actually had quite a lot of fun, especially with the little decorative pieces that we put into it. It's a rather diverse build in comparison to some of the stuff that I've built in the last couple of days. Um, for example, Grogu was like the worst in sense of just placing a lot of same colored parts for the main body, which can be kind of frustrating in comparison to these rather well diverse builds, if it's okay that I word it in that way. So other than that, I want to thank you so much for actually watching. I hope it was enjoyable to watch and it was a fun time to be had with me today. I would very much appreciate and any info on what I can improve upon. So if you want, please leave me a comment if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're watching it on Twitch. Then first of all, I want to thank you so much for actually watching it while being live. And also maybe consider following my account. I do regular Lego streams. I'm trying to do them every day, at least 5 times a week. And I'm also doing the same, or I post the same stuff on YouTube. All right. So, other than that, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great day, morning, evening, afternoon, or night, depending on the time of day that you're actually watching this video. And other than that, thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you again in the next one. Goodbye.